She said that to my face while standing in my apartment, eating the dinner I just cooked. Honestly, you're lucky someone like me even notices you. Then she went back to scrolling her phone like she hadn't just dropped a grenade. I didn't say anything. Just watched her bite into the salmon I'd seasoned and seared 10 minutes earlier, as if it was owed to her. Like being here, being with me, was a favor she'd extended out of sheer boredom. She had this tone in her voice, one I'd started picking up more often, where everything she said had this underlying "you're welcome" baked into it. I didn't argue. Didn't blow up. I just sat there, chewing slower, letting the silence answer for me. It's funny how you can trace the exact moment you check out of a relationship. That was mine. That line. That smug, self-satisfied, backhanded declaration. I've been insulted before. People say things in anger, out of hurt, even out of fear. But this? This was deliberate. A power play. A reminder that I was lucky to be chosen. Thing is, I used to believe that. When we first started seeing each other, I did feel lucky. She was one of those girls that walks into a room and makes other women tighten their posture. Gorgeous, loud, charismatic. Knew how to own space. And me? I'm not flashy. I've got a steady job in logistics, pay my bills, lift a few times a week. I wear Carhartt because it lasts. I eat lunch at my desk. No six-figure influencer life. Just a regular guy with calluses and decent credit. So when she looked at me like I was interesting, I leaned in. Too hard, maybe? Took her out. Picked up the bill without flinching. Bought her flowers when she was having a bad week. Listened, actually listened, when she vented about her friends and her boss and how nobody appreciated her. At first, it felt like it mattered. Like maybe I was different from the guys she used to deal with. She even said so. "You're not like the others," she told me once. "You're safe." That's rare. I thought that was a compliment. It wasn't. It meant I was predictable. Manageable. The kind of guy she could push to the edge and count on not to fall off. The guy she could guilt into favors, ghost emotionally for days, then text at 2 a.m. needing support. And yeah, I take responsibility for sticking around as long as I did. Nobody had a gun to my head. I saw the signs. Early on, even. Like how she'd never asked me about my day unless hers was worse. Or how every time I had plans with friends, she'd suddenly have an emergency that required my full attention. Or how she'd flirt with other guys in front of me, then accuse me of being insecure when I brought it up. But I kept making excuses. Told myself she was just guarded. That she was used to toxic men and didn't know how to accept someone decent. That if I just kept being solid, eventually she'd feel safe enough to meet me halfway. I was wrong. She didn't want solid. She wanted spectacle. Chaos. The kind of love that came with threats and grand gestures and explosive makeups. And because I wasn't giving her that, I became background noise. Still, I stayed. For longer than I want to admit. Kept showing up. Kept listening. Kept paying. Kept hoping. But the more I gave, the more it cost me. I started skipping the gym. My diet slipped. Sleep went to shit. Work performance dipped. I'd be on calls with clients, trying to stay sharp, while mentally running damage control from the last passive-aggressive text she sent. My manager pulled me aside once, asked if everything was okay at home. I lied. Said I was just tired. He knew better. Older guy. Married 20 years. Gave me that look like he'd seen this movie before and didn't like the ending. The tipping point, though, wasn't big. It was that dinner. That smug little sentence. "You're lucky someone like me even notices you." She didn't even flinch after saying it. No apology. No awareness. Just scrolled Instagram and kept eating. Probably checking her likes. Maybe even comparing me to some ex she still kept tabs on. I finished my plate in silence, washed my dish, and told her I had to get up early the next day. She said, Already? I was hoping we'd hang out." I didn't answer. Just nodded and walked her to the door. She leaned in to kiss me, and I gave her my cheek. That's when she started to sense something had shifted. But it was too late. I spent that night lying on my back, staring at the ceiling. My phone lit up a few times, texts from her. I didn't open them. I wasn't even mad. Just done. Not rage done. Not heartbroken done. Just a quiet kind of clarity. The kind that doesn't need revenge or drama or even closure. The kind that just says, "You're not good for me." And I finally see it. I didn't text her the next day. Or the next. I went back to the gym. Got a full night's sleep. Cooked a real breakfast for myself. By day 4, she called. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail, sounded confused. Said I was acting weird. That she didn't do anything wrong. And that's the part that really stuck. She didn't think she did anything wrong. Because in her mind, reminding me how lucky I was to be noticed wasn't cruel. It was normal. It was how she kept the upper hand. Her version of love was one-sided praise in exchange for complete submission. And when I didn't submit, she panicked. By the end of the week, the calls kept coming. Texts too. Some were sweet. Some were pissed off. One even just said, "Wow. So we're doing the silent treatment now." I wasn't doing anything. I just wasn't playing. I've never been one to ghost. It's not how I operate. I believe in saying what you mean. But with her? I knew that if I said anything, she'd twist it. That's what manipulators do. They don't hear your words, they hear leverage. So I let silence speak. And let me tell you, people like her, they hate silence more than insults. They don't know how to handle it. They'd rather you scream. At least then, they're still directing the show. By the 10th day, she showed up at my place uninvited. I was on the couch, eating leftover rotisserie chicken and watching an old fight on ESPN. She knocked like the building was on fire. I opened the door just enough to see her face. She was dolled up, tight jeans, lip gloss, fresh nails. She smiled like none of this had happened. "Can we talk?" I said nothing. "Seriously?" she huffed. "You're acting like I cheated on you or something." I opened the door a little wider, just enough to look her dead in the eye. "You told me I was lucky to be noticed by you. That's not love. That's arrogance." She rolled her eyes. "It was a joke." "God, you're so sensitive." There it was. The gaslight starter pack. Phase 1, deny. Phase 2, minimize. Phase 3, flip it back on me. She tried to step forward. I blocked the door with my foot. "Look," I said. "I'm not mad. I'm not even trying to make a point. I'm just done. You don't respect me, and I finally respect myself enough to walk away." She blinked like I'd slapped her. "That's it?" she asked. "You're not even gonna try to work through it?" I shook my head. "Nope." She laughed. But not like she thought anything was funny. More like she didn't know what else to do. "You're seriously throwing all this away?" "All what, exactly?" I asked. "A one-sided deal where I give and you keep score?" She started to say something, stopped, then turned around and walked off, heels echoing down the hallway like punctuation marks. No dramatic cries, no final insults. Just quiet disbelief. That told me everything. She wasn't sad she lost me. She was shocked she didn't control me anymore. And that was her real loss. See, she'd gotten used to me making it easy. I was the safe guy. The stable guy. The guy who covered dinner, who fixed the shelf, who stayed up on the phone during her breakdowns, even when I had work at 6 a.m. I was the guy who didn't raise my voice, didn't hit below the belt, didn't play games. And because I didn't make her chase me, she never had to value me. She thought my consistency was desperation. Thought being solid meant being spineless. But here's the thing, men like me? We break quietly. We leave without the door slam. We detach without fireworks. And once we're gone, we don't circle back. We've already done the math. We don't need to double-check it. After she left, I blocked her number. Wiped the photos. Took back the mental space. The next few weeks were still rough, not because I missed her, but because I had to detox from the pattern. It's like your body still expects the chaos. You wake up waiting for the next jab. You second-guess your peace. You wonder if maybe you were too cold. If maybe you should have just had one last talk. But then you remember, every talk was the last talk, and none of them changed a damn thing. She texted me through a burner number about a month later. Just said, "So I guess you never really cared." I didn't reply. Because that line? That was her trying to reframe the story. If I didn't beg, I never cared. If I didn't collapse, it wasn't love. Nah. I cared. I just cared about myself more, finally. And if that makes me the villain in her story? So be it. A few mutual friends asked me what happened. I told them the truth. Straight. No drama. She thought she was the prize. I agreed for too long. Now I don't. Most of them nodded. A few said, "Yeah, she can be intense." Which is code for we saw it too, but didn't want to get involved. Turns out, I wasn't the only one who'd been run through her ego machine. She'd done the same routine before. Same power plays. Same pedestal games. Same cold shoulder when she didn't get worshipped properly. But you can only run that script so many times before people stop playing along. Last I heard, she was posting long captions about real men and knowing your worth. Still dropping selfies with song lyrics that sound deep if you're not really paying attention. Let her have that. I'm not bitter. Actually, I'm grateful. She taught me what not to accept. I ran into her again 2 months later at a friend's barbecue. It wasn't planned, I didn't even know she'd be there. I showed up with a 6-pack and ribs I'd smoked myself, feeling good for once. Lighter. Like I'd taken off a weighted vest I didn't realize I'd been wearing. She saw me from across the yard. Her posture changed immediately. She straightened up, touched her hair, adjusted her shirt. Like her body still hadn't gotten the memo that she didn't hold sway over me anymore. She walked up like we were old friends. No hesitation. That fake casual tone she used when she was trying to gauge how much control she still had. "Hey," she said. "You look good." I gave her a small nod. "Thanks." Pause. She expected more? I didn't give it. "So, you just disappeared on me," she said, with that half laugh that was supposed to make it sound like a joke. I looked her right in the eyes. "Nah. I just stopped showing up where I wasn't respected." That landed. Her smile faltered. She tried to pivot. "You know, I've done a lot of thinking since then. I think we both made mistakes." "No," I said calm. "I stayed too long. That was my mistake. You made your stance pretty clear." She looked around like she was hoping someone was listening, some audience to rescue her from how real the moment was getting. But this time, no one stepped in. No one laughed. No one gave her the validation cues she was used to. "Wow," she said finally. "I didn't think you'd turn into one of those bitter guys." That's what they do, by the way. When they can't guilt you, they shame you. When they can't shame you, they minimize you. And when none of it sticks, they rewrite the story. I didn't defend myself. Didn't raise my voice. I just picked up my plate and said, "Enjoy the party." She watched me walk away. I didn't look back. Later, a buddy of mine pulled me aside. Said she had already been telling people I ghosted her and that she didn't know why. Claimed she was blindsided, that I'd been emotionally unavailable, that I couldn't handle a strong woman. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. It always ends like that with people like her. They don't reflect, they deflect. They can't own what they did, so they repaint the picture to make themselves the victim. Every failed relationship becomes another notch on their martyr belt. But here's the kicker, people were starting to see through it. The same friends who used to nod and smile at her bullshit were now raising eyebrows. They'd seen the patterns. Seen her charm fade once she stopped getting what she wanted. Seen her cycle through guys like she was auditioning replacements, and blaming each one for not being enough. And now that I wasn't feeding her narrative, the cracks were showing. She was posting thirst traps with vague captions like, "Real men don't run," which, ironically, confirmed everything. She needed attention like oxygen. And without me playing the foil, she was struggling to keep the spotlight. Let her. Because by then, I was focused on rebuilding. Not in that rebound way either. Not chasing flings or trying to win the breakup. I wasn't interested in proving anything. I just wanted peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't need a partner to exist. I started getting serious about my health again. Got my sleep schedule back. Meal prepped. Spent time with people who didn't drain me. And I went back to doing things just because I liked them: fishing, lifting, cooking, shooting pool with the guys. And here's the wild part. When you stop needing someone's approval, you start seeing how little they ever added to your life in the first place. That line she threw at me, "You're lucky someone like me even notices you," that used to echo in my head like a wound. Now, it's a joke. A sad little sentence that says more about her than me. I don't need to be noticed. I'm not a billboard. I don't need my worth validated by someone who only loves through leverage. She wanted to be a prize. But a real prize doesn't have to remind you they're one. I remember talking to my buddy Kevin about it a few weeks later. He's got this no-nonsense way of breaking stuff down. "She said you were lucky?" he said. "Nah. She was lucky you stuck around as long as you did. That's the truth. I paid the bills. I showed up. I listened. I tried. I stayed longer than I should have. And when I left, I did it quietly. No drama. No smears. Just distance. And in the end, that was the most damaging thing I could have done to her story, not playing my role in it anymore. See, she wanted to be the one who got away. The misunderstood queen who couldn't be handled. But when you walk away from someone like that without begging, without yelling, without chasing, you take away their whole performance. And they're left standing in the dark with no audience. So yeah, she got confused when I didn't fight for her. Because she thought fighting for her was the same as respecting myself. It's not. Fighting for someone who treats you like you're lucky to be tolerated isn't noble, it's self-betrayal. And I don't do that anymore. After that barbecue, I never saw her in person again. Not once. We still had a couple mutual friends, but even those ties thinned out over time. The people who kept up with her did so more out of curiosity than closeness. You could see it in the way they spoke, cautious, surface level. Like they didn't want to get caught in her drama but also didn't want to be her next target. I didn't need updates. But they came anyway. She tried dating some guy who, from what I heard, was exactly what she used to say she wanted: money, status, flash. Dude lasted 6 weeks. Apparently he called her out on her attention-seeking and bailed mid-dinner. No warning. Just stood up and left her with the bill. Cold, sure. But when your whole identity is built on being unmatchable, it only takes one person walking away with indifference to shatter it. She spiraled after that. Posted long captions about how strong women intimidate weak men, and how not everyone can handle her energy. But nobody was clapping back with support this time. No fire emoji comments. No sisterhood sermons. Just silence and a few people slowly unfollowing. Because here's the thing, patterns get noticed. Eventually, people start connecting dots. They remember how she talked about the last guy. And the guy before him. And then me. And it all starts to sound the same. Different names, same script. By the third guy, it's not bad luck anymore. It's behavior. She faded into background noise after that. Still active online, but not as loud. Not as curated. Less goddess energy, more passive-aggressive memes and vague spiritual quotes about self-worth. I didn't hate her for it. Honestly, I just felt sorry. Not in a cruel way. In a that's what happens when you build your life around being adored way. As for me, things got simple. And I mean that in the best way. Work improved. Got a small raise. My boss noticed I wasn't as checked out. Said I seemed more focused, more grounded. I started hanging out with people who didn't keep score. Who didn't need constant reassurance that they were interesting. I could just exist with them. No role to play. No emotional babysitting. I dated again, but with my eyes open this time. Red flags don't go unnoticed anymore. I spot them fast. The subtle put-downs disguised as jokes. The competition mindset. The need to be chased instead of chosen. I don't engage. I don't try to fix it. I just walk. Because now I know, peace is expensive, and I'm not giving it away for free. I also started journaling. Not in some poetic way. Just observations. Facts. Dates. Notes to my future self. Reminders of what I ignored last time. I've got a list now, not of what I want in someone, but what I won't tolerate, and that list has kept me out of more messes than I can count. Every man should write that list. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. I look back now at who I was in that relationship and realize how far I've come. How much of myself I dimmed just to keep things smooth. How I kept hoping that if I was just a little more patient, a little more understanding, she'd soften. She never did. Because she never had to. I handed her all the room to treat me like a backup plan, and she took it. That's not on her, that's on me. That was the last lesson I needed. Don't give power to people who don't value it. She didn't destroy me. Let's be clear. She revealed me, to myself. She showed me what I'd been taught to tolerate. What I thought love was supposed to look like. What I believed I deserved. And when I finally stepped out of that haze, I realized I'd never go back. I don't crave closure. I don't need an apology. The lack of access is closure enough. She lost me the second she mistook my calm for weakness. My loyalty for desperation. My silence for emptiness. What she didn't understand is that men like me, we're not flashy. We're not dramatic. We don't make scenes. But when we leave, we mean it. And when we heal, we're better for it. So no, I didn't fight for her. Because I was never supposed to. I was supposed to fight for me. And I finally did.